and I just tell it's God. It's God. My sister and I, we prayed for 5 years straight to be intentional, as we have been, and to continue to show that intention, so that people know that we're here to. I can't say we're here to save. We're not here to save anybody, but we're here to make sure that we make an impact.
Yeah, we limit. 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 Yeah, we limitless. Yeah, we limitless. Yeah, we limitless. Limit. Let the cease the day you gone, then you benefits. Benefits. What's up, family? Welcome to Limitless. Today, I'm really excited to introduce you, the founder of Blackmen Style, and many other things on top of that. We'll go into the conversation, but he's one of the brothers that I come across with that have the talent, the humility, and the swag on top of that. So I'm really honored for him to to have him. So Sam, welcome to Limitless.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
I really,
appreciate it.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate the fact that you're coming here.
No problem.
I usually ask people a different way of introduction. It's like a lot of times people ask us like tell us about yourself. What do you do and stuff. But for me, I want to get to know the deep person.
Okay.
So every time this is my question, which is who is Sam Tita Jr.
Who is Sam Tita Jr.? It's funny you say Junior, because I mean, not many people
Because-
know, right? Not many people know.
Yeah, because I have the senior next year. So-
Who is Sam Tita Jr.? That's a good question. And I'm always asking myself, who am I? Because I think as time goes on, I think I continue to change, right? I'm somebody who, I'm a person of the people. I'm a person of business. I'm a person of love and integrity. I'm really somebody who tries their best to be intentional with everything that I do. I don't like to waste time. Yeah, that's who I am.
I can see.
That's who I am.
When it comes to time, I can see that. Everything's like on point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's awesome. I want to get into the things that you do, but I just want to find out you're married, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're married since 2018?
2018. Yes.
I do my homework.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And then you're married to a beautiful wife and
Thank you.
to a black woman, which that, and I'm very happy to see that. And
Thank you.
for you, when the first time I came to see you guys, I so this is how it started. I was scrolling through and I saw Black Men Style, and then the first image that came in was when you guys went into downtown and was like took a picture, and I heard that you guys were responsible for a lot of neck turning and car accidents.
If there were any car accidents, I apologize.
Just kidding. So I saw a lot of good-looking, handsome guys dressed well, and I'm like, oh, what on earth is that? And then I started looking into it, and I saw the vision and what you wanted to do. So that shows who you are, not just the things that you come up with. And so I looked at that, and then I started seeing some of the events that you're holding. I really wanted to come in, and I think I communicated with you, but
Yes,
it
we
was
did.
it was really hard. I have 3 kids, and then currently I'm in school, so it's like just. But when you did the mental health summit, I said, I'm really passionate about it. So I said, this is something that I would not miss, and I can't miss. So I came in and I saw the atmosphere. I mean, the atmosphere was different. I've been to places, meetings and conference and stuff like that, but just having brothers together into one vision, but not just when people are there just to show off or to just to
course.
connect or for a benefit purpose. But you can feel the atmosphere, how everybody has the same vision, everybody has the same desire, and I really appreciated that. On top of that, most of you that I met, you're people of faith, so that is your roots and where your grounded is. So that's I appreciate it. So tell me how you came about, and you can start from you're growing up, and I know you have I believe you have an excellent from listening to your dad and having conversation with him just a little bit. You are an excellent upbringing, but what inspired you to start Black Men, and then
Mhm.
you can go back in and tell me from from your upbringing.
So the inspiration behind Black Men's style was a number of things. I mean, I grew up in the city. I grew up in Toronto. I grew up in Scarborough. Grew up in Galloway, um, and I guess a lot of what I grew up around was it could some was positive, some was negative, right? Everybody's experience in life is different. As for me, growing up in a home with having both my mother and father, it definitely has made a huge difference on my outlook on life. My father being very active in my life. Like when I say very active, like completely hands on. And that's an experience not many can say they've had, which is unfortunate. And I do wish that for the future generation, because It's only been positive for me.
Yeah.
Um, Now, as for Blackman style, coming about now, it was based off of an experience. And I always let people know that, right? And this is why we need to go out and experience different things.
Yeah.
Um, there was a lot going on in the city. This was about 2018, 2017. We were getting a lot of negative press. Everything when it pertained to young black boys, black men, it was a lot of negativity. And I think it was the summer of 2018, if I'm correct. Um, there was a shooting downtown by a local Toronto
Yeah.
rapper went by the name of Smoke Dog.
Yeah.
So he unfortunately, he died, and I think that's when it really hit me, right? And like I said, I grew up in the city. I used to see. I mean, I've lost friends in the past. Friends, cousin. Like I've seen people, um, a lot of people pass. Unfortunately, when it comes to violence and everything like that. Um, and so I wanted something different. I really wanted something different. I was really thinking like, how can we go about making a change? Um, so there was actually a page. It's actually called Black Menswear. They're based in the United
Yeah.
States,
Yeah.
and now around that time I had to be in Houston, Texas. I have a lot of family over there, and there's some business I was trying to to go about doing, and so I was like, okay, you know what, I got to be over there. Let me be there around the same time that they're going to be having their, as they call it a flash mob. So I was like, okay, you know what, let me go over there, let me see what this is about, and it could be a perfect opportunity for me to network. Now that was my first opportunity. That was the first time I'd ever networked amongst other black men. Other than that, I've never actually intentionally gone and networked with anybody.
Oh,
Like
really?
I'd never done it.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, you know what? This is gonna be it. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. So I went over there, and my overall experience being around those men, these are all men that were doing things, be it in the community, be it in business or work life. They were pretty well established men, and a lot of the things they were speaking on were like, there was one of them who was actually a police officer, and he was trying to tell some other brothers how to properly navigate when you're dealing with the police, right? Um, it sounds like something we shouldn't have to warn each other about, but we know the
Yeah.
reality of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's better, to be aware as opposed to go in ignorant. Um, and seeing that and being around that, it really changed my outlook as to how we can go about this, right? So I decided, you know what, I want to bring this same energy to Toronto, not even just Toronto, to Canada. I want everybody to be able to experience what I experienced. So came back, um, you know, connected with a few people, got some videographers, photographers, let some people know the vision. Of course, not everybody's going to agree with it at first. Not everybody's going to think that it's going to have any impact. But me, I knew what it was. So went around, planned it out and everything like that, and Blackman Style was born.
Beautiful.
Right,
Yeah.
Blackman Style was born. Now the first shoot, I call them unity shoots, right? Because it's about uniting our black men,
Yeah. Yeah.
uniting the community.
That's a beautiful name, by
Thank
the
you,
way.
thank you.
Yeah.
And you know, brothers were thanking me. They were thanking me for being there. That's when it really hit me. I was like, okay, this can't just be it. I need to do more. So we did it. We did another one. This was 20. I think it was 2019. Yes. So we started up 2019. So this was before the whole George Floyd and Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So 2019 we did it. This was I think the winter of 2019. So it was November 2019. So the first shoot we did, we had about 12 guys. The second shoot, we had about 20 guys. It was it was like it was just over to like probably like 28 guys. So we doubled, and I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, it happened. And a lot of the brothers got to connect, network, and at this point, guys were already starting to do business with each other, right? Because you're meeting the right type of guys
Exactly. Yeah.
at this event.
Yeah.
So then pandemic came about. Unfortunately, it kind of slowed things down because we weren't allowed to gather.
Yeah.
Because during the pandemic, we were planning on doing another one, which was going to be even bigger. But then they announced that we couldn't gather over, I think it was like over 15,
15
20
or something.
people.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was like, I have about, I don't know, 80 guys in my inbox right now who are ready to just, be
Nice.
in the street and do this thing. But the unfortunate thing is, though everybody was telling me just do it, I had to look at it as, if I go about and do this, all it takes is one person to make a video
And
and
then-
point the finger and say, these black men chose not to listen and we're in the middle of a pandemic. So
It
I
just
had to,
takes a reason.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That
So I
was
just
a
had to
smart
put it on
move.
complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
put it on hold
Yeah.
because, and though a lot of people were like, yeah, I really want to be there. I was like, look, you guys got to understand what we're dealing with, what we've been dealing with, and just know that the last thing I'm trying to do is bring more negative attention to
Yeah,
us, right?
yeah.
So we'll wait, and when the time is right, we'll execute again. So with that, what I decided to do was I did a bit of a smaller shoot, a bit more private. I did an African style shoot, right? I did that one. So I don't know if you've seen that
No,
one.
I didn't see that one.
Okay.
What?
So I did, yes, I did an African
Did you
style
post
shoot.
that one?
I did post it. I posted it.
Yeah.
Now the only thing was, one of the photographers that came didn't get me like he came, he took pictures and just like ran away with them. I'm trying to get in contact with him, and it's the unfortunate thing is, sometimes some people in the community will disappoint you, but
It's
at the end of the
important.
day, everybody deals with it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but we do have video.
Oh,
So
okay,
yes,
okay,
we do have.
okay.
There's video.
Okay.
And that was the first one we did, and it was really good. And I will do another one.
You gotta do another
I
one.
have to,
I'm
I
like,
have to,
I'm
but-
like
I
getting
know.
goosebumps thinking about it, man.
Yeah, the African style one was really good. It was more so guys from, I guess, Central Africa, West Africa, um, Central Africa, West Africa. Yeah, more Central West.
You don't have
But
anything from
I
East,
need
so
more
I'm
East.
coming from East.
Thank you,
Yeah.
and that's what I need. That's what I
Yeah.
want,
Yeah.
because our representation is it's very wide.
Yeah.
It's very wide.
Yeah.
The continent it's not a small place. It's not a small place
Yeah.
at all. So I want full representation.
That's
Full
yeah.
representation
Yeah.
of our brothers from the east to the west to the north to the south.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
so-
that is amazing. I mean, just the idea of it, and forget the background things that you do,
mhm.
just to dress up and to show
Mm-hmm.
everybody else like this is how we look when we dress up.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is like people can't even handle us when we dress up, right?
Mhm.
It's like we're not even just the regular people. Like
Mhm.
I remember a guy was saying, it's like, why do you complain about? God gave you the whole package,
Uh-huh.
right? So, and I believe in that. It's
Mhm.
like as a black man, I think one of the reason that we go into through struggles and problems and discrimination and racism is most of them is intimidation for
Mhm.
other people,
Mhm.
and I believe truly I believe that. So, and I really applaud you for you to to do that. So, and I looked at I talked to some of the guys. It's like about being grounded in faith,
Mhm.
and like how is it that in you talked about your upbringing,
Mhm.
but how is it that just having that faith in your
Mhm.
life and relationship with God, and
Mhm.
how did that impact you for you to even to say I gotta stand up for humanity and for my own people?
I want to say it had a lot to do with, though yes, with everything that I do, it is faith based. I want to say 100% of what I do is faith based
yeah.
because um, there are times where certain things aren't planned out perfectly, but it just I know it's gonna work.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna work because I had faith. And what I do, especially with before I start anything, any of the events, or even before I touch the wheel, before I touch the road, I say a small prayer, because I know my God. I know that
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
is going to do the necessary things in my life, to make sure that I'm able to fulfill my destiny,
Yeah. Yeah.
my time while I'm here. Um, so just to kind of take it back to to your question, how do I know? I don't know. I just want to say I just know.
You just.
I just know.
Yeah.
I just know. There's no real
I like
formula
that
to it when
answer.
it comes to me. I
Yeah.
just know. I
Yeah.
just know and I just make it happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type of person who likes to talk too much about it. I just like to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right? So if it comes to mind, it comes to heart,
Yeah.
I just do what I got to do.
Faith plus action, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. When you did your so when you started Black Man, were you married at that time or
Yeah, I was. Yes, I was married. I was married.
so?
So, and you see, that's the thing. In order for me to have been able to even go to Houston to network with those guys, I had to ask her first.
I know.
I had to, show her the
That's what I was
plan. I
gonna.
had to
How was
show,
it? Yeah.
and that's the thing. I had to show her the plan, show her the vision, and she saw it and she understood it, and she said yes, go. Because we didn't go together.
Yeah.
I went on my own.
Yeah.
So she said yes, go.
And then you were freshly
Just
married.
go. Freshly married.
Yeah.
She said yes, go.
Because it's true what they say is that behind a strong man, there's always
There's
a strong woman. So
telling
it's-
you,
yeah,
listen,
because
that-
if she doesn't, but especially it's not easy for when you just get married, you're in honeymoon mode, and then you gets up and say like, oh, I gotta go to do something, and unless the person really believes in you and believes in your vision, it's not easy to do it. So
And
that shows your relationship.
That exactly it. That exactly it. For a lot of, I think, there are a lot of men out there who don't get to become themselves, or don't get to continue being themselves after they become married because the woman that they're with doesn't believe in the things that they can do.
Talk about it.
Right?
Yeah, now you just
And-
hit the core.
and it's unfortunate because I've seen it a lot now. Especially because of Black Men Style. I speak to, I can't even tell you how many brothers I speak to on a daily basis, right? Be it through social media, through text, calls, everything like that. There are a lot of brothers who really don't get to do the things that they're capable of doing because of the person that they are with. And I can't say so much. It's not the woman's fault.
No,
it's
it's
not,
not.
right. It's a lot of men just allow it, right, as opposed to just taking your stance and making it happen. Because even my wife, she even said to me, she's like, look, there are times where I'm not going to agree with you. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do what you're supposed to do. Even if you don't agree with me, do it, because if you didn't, then all of this might not have came about. Because of course she was hesitant at first, when I was like, I want to go to Houston and I want to do this. She was like, you know what, let me think it through. Some women would have been like, no. And at the end of the day, me knowing who I am, I would have gone because I know the bigger purpose.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I would have came back, we would have started up and everything like that, and regardless, we would have still flourished.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to dive too deep into into what other brothers are going through, in their relationships and everything like that. But for brothers who are out there who are looking for the right woman, just be vigilant, right? Really communicate with her. Really understand what she is about. If she has things going for her, it doesn't always have to be financially. And then if you have things that are going for you, if you guys both have a vision, be it separate visions, just do your best to support each other in every way possible. You're not going to agree with everything, but at the end of the day, at least you've done that.
Yeah.
At least you've done that.
Because the right person will stay with your for the lack of word, with your crap basically.
Well, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Some will, some won't, right?
Yeah,
This world is too big to say that.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody will, but the right person will.
Yeah.
As long as you can show them, what you are, what you're about, and not just be a talker, because there are so many just talkers out there who can't actually make it happen.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah. That is beautiful. And um, I know you I don't want to go into it
Mhm.
because I didn't even plan to talk about
Nah,
relationship.
no worries,
But
no
the
worries.
thing is, um, a lot of brothers see, like for example, I worked in previously in a construction field
Okay, okay.
and in union, and you have no idea the amount of men that
Mhm.
complains about their wives like day and night.
Mhm.
And then sometimes I'm like sitting down like, if you really, and then they get surprised that
Mhm.
they see how long I've been married,
Mhm.
and then they're like, you got nothing to say about your family? Like,
Mhm.
no.
Mhm.
I'm actually the other way around.
Uh-huh.
Probably she has a lot more to say about me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm the one who gives trouble than her.
Mhm.
And then even if that happens, that's what the point of marriage
Mhm.
is. And
Mhm.
I always used to say like, if you're really that miserable, like
Mhm.
some of them they say they avoid to go to the house until she goes to sleep. I'm like, so what is the
I've
point
heard
of the
that.
marriage, right?
I've heard that.
So just to ask you a question, and I know you've been married
Mhm.
um, now what, 5 years?
Going on 5 years, yeah.
5 years, right? So and through your experience within this 5 years, and then seeing other people getting into a relationship,
Mhm.
what are the things that people make a mistake? And like for me, for example, I think a lot of people get into marriage just to fulfill obligation,
Mm.
especially for the
I
women's.
was just gonna say
Yeah,
that, yes.
and then the
Mhm.
men do it because they want someone to pay the same bill with, and then
Mhm.
someone to cook them for, and
Mhm.
things like
Mhm.
that. So, and what do you think that men, especially our black men,
Mhm. Mhm.
when I say men, I'm talking about our men,
Mhm.
and what is the thing that you did
Mhm.
and you've saw from your parents
Mhm.
that people really need to pay attention when they get into marriage?
So for okay, so bring it back to let's okay. Let's talk on I guess my parents for a
Yeah.
second. Now my parents got married. They got married young, um, and I want to say maybe I don't know what it was like back in the day, but
Mm.
you know a lot of people I want to say if anything got married at a
By the
younger
way, you
age
can drink
back
your tea
then.
while you're talking,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
okay,
a
okay,
free space. Okay.
okay. But my parents they got married young, right? They got married young and they had us young. So, and I say us because it's my sister and
Yeah,
I.
yeah, right.
And seeing I guess we got to grow up with them. So we saw the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even when my parents did separate, because
I've watched
you
it.
did
Yeah,
okay, okay. So my parents, yeah, they were separated for I think it was about like 5 years
yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that. And we saw it all, the arguments, the disagreements. When my father did leave, when my father did come back, and a lot of people will always ask like, "What do you think brought your parents together?" And I just tell it's God. It's God. My
oh
sister
yeah.
and I we prayed for 5 years straight,
Wow.
for them to be back together. And when they got back together was when they had both became saved. My parents like when the household we grew up in, my parents weren't very active in the church. They weren't. It was a lot for them was it was they were in a hustle mentality at
Yeah,
that time.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like we need to make money to make things happen for us. But I don't think they weren't moving off of faith at that time. Now my parents move off of faith. They do. And it's evident, they speak on the relationship
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah,
It's nothing that they hide.
yeah,
My mother will talk about, her dealing with anxiety. My father will talk about him not even being able to handle the fact that my mother was dealing with anxiety,
yeah,
not even understanding what that was,
yeah,
especially from, an African perspective,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
As an African man, like,
yeah,
well, what is that? Let's just make things happen,
yeah,
right? Seeing how they handled things and everything like that, I knew that my father not understanding how to deal with my mom during that time, I needed to be that type of person to my wife when the time came, right? Because I don't know what kind of traumas or what she's dealing with, so I just need to be a very understanding person. So I think I've grown up being a pretty understanding person, but then also being a little more patient with the women in my life, right? And that is how I am with my wife. I try to be as patient as possible, you know, because I know I'm a low stress kind of person. She's more of a high stress kind of person. So if there's anything that's stressing her out, I try to make sure that I'm able to relieve it. If there's anything I can do, I make sure of it. There's a lot of guys just have little to no patience or don't even try to have patience when it comes to their women, and so with that, there's a lot of clashing,
yeah,
right? A lot of men expect their woman to pretty much be like a man, right? But that's not the case. Women are women, men are men. We are we are always gonna be different. Always, always. As much as As long as you guys can live together, you're never going to be the same.
Yeah.
You're always going to learn from each other. My grandparents, they were married for, I don't know, 60 plus years. Um, the only thing that separated them was my grandfather passing away. Other
Wow.
than that,
Wow.
yeah, I saw it all. And like I said, the good and the bad,
Yeah.
seeing my grandparents argue, it's a part of a relationship.
Yeah.
You're going to have disagreements. The same way you argue with your friends, the same way you might argue with your cousins, the same way you might argue with your parents. Any person in life that you're going to have a relationship with, you're going to disagree with. Any true person that you're going to have a relationship with, you're going to disagree with. You're going to. So seeing that, I remember there was a time even my grandparents fought, and my grandmother left and she went to stay with my aunt. And my grandfather was like, he's very old school, a very old school man, and didn't show much emotion, didn't tell us he loved us, didn't give us Christmas gifts. All he
Yeah.
didn't do
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But I remember when my grandmother came back, that was the first and only time I'd ever seen my grandfather cry.
Wow.
I'd never seen that.
Wow.
As tough as he was, like he didn't. Yeah, he was a tough man. He was a tough man. But when I saw that, I was like, okay. No, that was a pretty. I was pretty young when I saw that. So when you see these things,
But
you see.
it leaves some kind of seed
Oh,
in
it,
you.
it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
It does,
Yeah.
right? When you see, men be vulnerable, um, it changes your outlook on on what a man is and how
Yeah.
a man operates.
Yeah.
There are men who have never gotten a chance to see these things, so they don't think that is how a man should be or can be, right? I know that that is how men are, from a personal perspective. My uncle and my aunts, they've been married. Um, yeah, I've seen it all. I've seen it all when it comes to marriage from, you know, different points. So
So you're a great student.
I think I'm a good student of life.
yeah.
I'm a good student of life.
Yeah, you've been taught from different
Mhm.
direction,
Mhm.
and that's the thing. When I came into the summit that you guys had,
Mhm.
that's one thing I was like, I hope people realized what is going on, because it's I'm not joking. The moment Troy introduced your dad,
Mhm.
I'm like, what?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like turning around and I'm like, I said, the son did this, and then the father speaking in it, and that blessing, 90% of us don't have it. I mean, I have a father, but I don't have a good relationship. Like it's, and so I'm breaking that cycle for me. And then there's so many
And I
people.
love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
and so many people, like when you say, very hands-on. My dad was very hands-on, and I know he's not gonna appreciate it now. I have it over him every time. So, and I'm trying to, and I'm breaking that cycle. So when I saw that, and you have no idea the impact that brings it. Like I was getting emotional. I was getting goosebumps when he came up, and I'm like looking around to all the brothers, like, do you realize what is going on here? So it is huge impact. So, um, uh, talk to me about some of the things. I know a lack of father does a lot of problem, a lot of damage in ours. And then you saw that, having a father, and then I'm pretty sure growing up, you have friends and stuff that got raised up in,
Oh,
in
100%.
single parents.
100%.
And what do we have to, I mean, and it might be as a very cliche obvious things, right? But what is the specific things that we need to really specifically focus as a community, as an individual in our, for us to prevent that, and to have that full family household. And then so just talk to us with that, because you were raised in it, and we can see the results. So how do we break that cycle, even if someone is raised in a single home? How do they break that cycle for them to come in? I know.
Okay, so I'll use my dad as an example.
Yeah.
My father did not grow up with his father,
Okay.
right? My father grew up with my grandmother, and it wasn't because of the case of like any infidelities or anything like that. My grandfather and my grandmother just weren't together, right? And but I guess the difference for my dad is that he had brothers,
Yeah.
older brothers who were there in his life, um, that that were examples for him. They might not, like, when it comes to being your brother, it might not always be the best example, but they were an example for him. Now, my father grew up knowing what it was like to grow up without a father, and with that, um, made sure he was very much so in our lives. Even when my parents were separated, my father was still there. In those 5 years or so that they weren't together, I never truly felt like my father wasn't there
Yeah.
because of how much he was there. My father was living in the States, and I still felt like he was there. I always felt his presence.
Wow.
Always felt his presence.
Wow.
I think there are too many excuses that are made. I think there are too many people in the community that will say, "Well, I didn't grow up with a father, um, so I don't know what it's like to. I don't know what it means to be a dad, or I didn't grow up with a father, so I'm no, I'm just not going to be there for my kid." Those are excuses, and
Well said.
they're
Yeah.
just too yeah. There's too many excuses, which is it's sad to say, but that is a reality.
Yeah.
Um, though we deal with things like like systemic racism and everything like that. Like those are very evident, very true. But I think we need to make sure that we are intentional with what we do.
Yeah.
And I think there are too many people who are excited with being parent as opposed to being married before, right? Yes, it's a beautiful thing to bring new life into this world,
Yeah.
but understand that yes, marriage is a huge commitment, but bringing a person into the world is an even bigger commitment.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, why can't you be married,
Yeah.
right? Because you are committed to this person for the rest of their life, right? And you being aware of what you didn't have, what you didn't experience, should only make it want you to want more for that person too. You're gonna want that person to feel that love that you didn't feel. You're gonna want that person to experience all the things you didn't experience.
Yeah.
Be it going on walks with your father, be it playing basketball with your father, be it if it's a little girl, be it little tea time with your daughter and things like that. Like you want that child to experience everything that you didn't experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what can we as a community do? I think we need to take a step back and understand what marriage is, right? And why we are marrying, and understand that it's about keeping our community strong, building our community, um, and then also look at when it comes to the finances of our community, right? Um, Looking at dual income households as opposed to single income households, right? And how much that makes a difference when it comes to bringing somebody up.
Yeah.
The difference between you depending on the government for funding for your child to be able to go to school, which at times can be very hard, versus you and your wife being financially stable because you guys decided to grow together. You guys being able to purchase a house together because living here, chances of you being able to own something are much higher when we're looking at a dual income,
Sure. Yeah.
right? So understanding that. Now, it's not going to be full of romance all the time. It's not. For the most part, it's not going to be full of romance. Romance is it's unfortunately going to be a small portion during certain times, especially. But being intentional is what it is, right? Like saying, you know what, if I'm going to bring this child into this world, I want to do it with my wife. Not, I want to bring this child into the world and leave it with her, let her struggle, let that child struggle, and then let that child resent me because I wasn't there. Really think about your actions before you make it happen,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's one of those cases where you can't just depend on faith, right? you
Yeah.
can't you
Yeah.
can't just depend on faith.
Yeah.
Yes, God will take care of things, but if you don't do the necessary things,
Yeah.
I mean, he's just gonna he's still gonna guide you as much as he can, but if you're not doing your
We
part,
get grace, but
yes,
not spoiled.
exactly, yeah, you're not gonna get spoiled with
Yeah.
it. You're
Yeah.
not going to.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be an easy walk in the park. You still
Yeah.
have to make things happen on your own.
Yeah.
So we have to, intentionality.
Um, I know you don't have kids yet. I don't want to sound like your parent.
Uh,
It's like anytime soon coming.
no kids, no kids just yet. No kids
Okay,
just yet.
it's a
In the
plan.
very
Plan.
near future, in the
Near
very near
future,
future,
yeah.
yes, in the very near future.
I asked that because I just asked it for
Hmm.
fun, but because your everything changes when you have children,
Hmm.
right?
And so I've heard,
Yeah, everything just
Hmm.
changed. Um, the the noise, the miserable crying, but at the same time, that whole cancels out. Just one day when you just sit down and you stare at them and then look at them, it's just a blessing. Because truly, when the Bible says children are a blessing from God, they're truly blessing. So
Hmm.
with all the baggage that they have, with
Hmm.
all everything, um, and I believe that some of the problem that we have in our community, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong. Do you think, this living together
Hmm.
culture that started,
Hmm.
in this past 20, 30 years, and now we have so many of that
Hmm.
because nobody's valuing covenants,
Hmm.
nobody's valuing marriage,
Hmm.
and because when you get into it, that's different than just, live together, and then you have a child, and then you don't see it as the same.
No, I understand and I agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that. But I think we have to look at it as a whole. Living on your own here is not the easiest thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I think when some people find somebody, they're so quick to couple up
Yeah.
because then they're like, okay, we can save money, right? As opposed to you looking at things like back home, where you can build upon your own and have your own place
Yeah.
as a man.
Yeah.
Um, and if the woman, if she builds up and lives on her own, or that, or she stays with family, either way, you're still apart until you get to come together.
Yeah.
Over here, some people are stuck in relationships because they can't afford to separate,
Yeah.
right? So when you,
Wow.
yeah,
Say that again.
because yeah, your
they
your
they
rent,
get stuck
yeah,
together
they get
because
stuck
they can't
together.
afford to separate. Wow.
Exactly, because um, I mean, what rent keeps going up,
Yeah.
mortgages keep going up. It's like, well, what are we gonna do? Yes, we can separate and say sell the house, and but even that battle is an expensive
Mhm.
battle.
Mhm.
Or when it comes to rent, it's like, okay, if I leave and I'm still paying the state, if the same type of rent that I've been paying for, let's say, the past 3 4 years when rent was a lot cheaper, now I have to get into this new market, the
By
cost of
myself.
rent
Yeah.
it on your own.
Yeah.
So some people are very miserable in their relationships and can't leave because they're stuck in there because of finances,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like as you said, or as you were asking pertaining to this, the new culture of just really coupling up and just being together. I guess it's just living together
Living.
and not being intentional
Yeah.
with
Moving
what
kind
the
of thing.
next steps are. Yeah, it is unfortunate. It really is unfortunate because um, it's something I've definitely seen, and I've seen people get stuck in it. And I try to advise anybody who is looking at rushing into something with somebody who you don't really know, and just living together for years and years on end. There's no progression, in the sense of marriage. It's just like, okay, well, we're already here. We are pretty much married by law, because we've been living together for over 3 years or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it is. It's when you actually get married, you know, it's a little different. Your mindset changes. Your mindset shifts. The same way your mindset shifts once you bring a person to this world. The same way your mindset shifts when you start a new business. The same way your mind shifts when you start a new exercise regime. The same way your mind shifts when you see something that you want and you go to obtain it. Everything changes. So um,
Yeah.
I always try to, if anything, nudge a few people here and there, let them know, like, hey, you guys have been together for a little while. I think, maybe,
You gotta do something.
yeah, you
Yeah.
guys got to do something. You guys got to do something.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see when they do,
Yeah.
when, they put everything into play. So,
So let's move it into, and I'm keeping the real thing that I want to ask you for
okay,
until the
yeah,
end.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you work or you own business now?
I
Both.
do work and I do own a business, yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's so I saw Malcolm exclusive.
Malcolm Susi, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that part of your business?
It is, yes, it is
So
part
is
of
it
it.
partnership or you own it?
No, I own it.
You own it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'm like, as soon as I saw, when did you start that one? Because as soon as I saw Black Man Style, I'm like, why doesn't he have his own line? And then I saw that, and I'm like, I said, it better be his.
It is. It
So
is.
it's something new that you just.
So no, I started probably around like close to around the same time.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
just
No,
never advertised it? Is
actually,
that what it is?
so sorry.
It's okay.
So Malcolm exclusive. So Malcolm being my middle name,
Oh, okay.
right? And
Okay.
I'm a huge I'm a huge I don't want to say a huge fan, but um I am. How can I say this? Malcolm X. It goes my father, and then it goes Malcolm X to me, right? And Malcolm
If
X
my
is
wife was here, you should hug you.
yeah.
Like it's like in our house, Malcolm X. A lot of times people get
Mhm.
offended, and when they talk about Martin Luther King, I said, For me, Malcolm X comes
Mhm.
first." Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I have my reasoning, which
Mhm.
I will explain later. But
Okay,
I have a
okay.
reasoning because I just in the brief,
Mhm.
when it comes to Martin Luther King, he did a great job.
Mhm.
But I think black people economy went down when integration came in,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
when we were doing our own,
Mhm.
we did well. We
Mhm.
did we in finance, which I'm gonna ask later.
Mhm. Mhm.
Money stayed longer in our
Mhm.
community,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
because of that, go ahead. Not
Mhm.
to interrupt you, but
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah.
no worries, no worries. But yes, as for Malcolm, I'm sorry, Malcolm exclusive, the business. I started that. I started it before Blackman Style. I did because I started. No, sorry, it was yeah, like it was like just around the same time. No, my
Yeah,
apologies. Yeah, it was just one idea came before the other.
yeah,
Malcolm exclusive came, and then Blackman Style
yeah,
came. But I keep the two separate because I don't want people confusing the two. Right. Last thing I wanted was people to because when you see black men style they see
the
they
movement.
see the movement but they see the fashion element to it, right?
So you don't want people to
And
relate.
I don't
You're using it as an advertisement.
exactly
Yeah,
no I don't
yeah,
want that at all. And black men style is about the community.
yeah.
It's about more than fashion, right? The fashion element brings everybody's eyes and attention, but then once you get them in and you really show them what black men style is about, that's when everything changes,
That is amazing.
right?
Yeah,
So it goes they though yes they can go hand in hand. Yes, of course, black men style can have its own fashion
yeah,
line,
yeah,
but that's not what I want for black men
yeah,
style.
yeah.
Black men style is about changing the narrative and the perception of how black men are viewed, but then also us changing our own perspective
Yeah,
and how we view each other,
yeah,
right? Um, Malcolm exclusive is is about custom suits,
yeah.
right? It is a tailoring business. It's about fashion, and it's not only for black men. It is a business founded by a black man. Malcolm exclusive, right? It
I
pays
saw it.
homage to Malcolm X,
Yes.
right?
Wow.
So,
That is
yeah.
beautiful. Are you the teller? No, you're not the teller.
No, I'm the designer.
Really?
I'm the designer.
Oh,
Yes, I'm
prop
the
man,
designer. Yeah.
that is a beautiful
Thank you,
design. Yeah.
thank you,
So
thank
do you
you.
guys focus a lot on a wedding like
Mhm.
tuxedo style or
So,
anything?
so a lot of the focus, yes, does go into weddings because if there's one thing people aren't going to stop doing is getting married,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, um, that is the focus. But I do suits for
Yeah.
be it the everyday businessman,
Yeah.
be it for just people who are attending weddings. So it's suits, it's tuxedos. Um,
The reason I ask is because I think you guys do a lot of your promos. I mean
mhm,
your campaign and ad
mhm.
on wedding
On wedding,
only.
yeah,
So
exactly,
that's
yeah.
the reason I ask is
Yeah,
like
so
for.
that is where the focus is driven.
Okay. Yeah.
It is driven on, and so I mean
So
I speak to
show us some suits so we could, because I'm coming definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
just I'm just I'm shading by the summer. That's definite. That's one of the reasons that is like I'm like even to wear suit. I don't own suit,
Mm.
and I refuse to own suit because I wanted to lose my weight first.
Okay,
What I
gotcha.
wanted to get it,
Mm-mm.
and then before I do it,
Okay,
and
okay.
then now I found a custom place for me to do it. So
Okay, okay, okay,
yeah,
okay. Okay.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's beautiful.
Whenever you're ready, and also we also do African attire. So typically what you'll see, worn like Central, West,
Yeah.
Africa. You'll see like in the North and East as well. Not so much in the East, but you will see the all depending. Some will call it boo some will call it an African suit. Some will call it a senator suit. a kaftan, all depending on who you're
So
talking
like
to.
it's like a
So
whole suit with African print fabric.
so it can be with so it can be a suit with African fabric, yeah, that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the longer
Oh, the
dress shirt,
style. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
with the pants and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
matching.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
that is awesome.
yeah. So
That's a
it's not just a European look, but it's also an
African
African look.
inspired look. Yeah.
Exactly. It's European
Yeah, I
inspired,
love
African
those ones.
inspired.
Like
Yes,
I've seen a bunch
exactly.
of around like social media
Mhm.
African inspired suit.
Mhm.
They're just beautiful, and
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
that is beautiful. I think when are you guys doing your next shoot
The
like
shoot,
with the
the
black men
next
style?
Unity shoot. Still just trying to plan it out because we have a list of events that we're looking to do.
I'm trying to see
Um,
whether I had to intensify my
yeah.
workout or not.
the next event Blackman Style is looking to do will be March 25th.
Okay.
March 25th. I don't want to state what it is just yet.
Yeah. No.
But March 25th, brothers be available.
Yeah.
Definitely doing something then. And
What about your shoot? Like
but as for the Unity shoot,
Yeah.
we're still trying to figure out the correct date.
weather gets better and
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
that.
So whether it be because we're doing Montreal for sure
Yeah.
this year. We're gonna do Montreal, Toronto again because Toronto's Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Toronto's home.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do Toronto. We're gonna do Montreal, and we're gonna see where else in Canada we could potentially do next
Yeah.
because we still have our art exhibit to do. We still have our poetry event to do.
Yeah.
We're looking to do something for Father's Day this year as well. There's so many different things that we're going
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
We're just trying to plan out the dates.
It will it will happen. I mean you're doing a great job, and then I
Thank
know
you, thank
God
you.
is backing you up. So
Thank you.
you don't have any problem to do it. And let's get into the main thing that I wanted to ask, which is um, most of you guys are a huge advocate for mental health,
Hmm.
right? Um, and then when you did that, I saw the presentation. Um, in our community, and as you know, there's people
Stigma.
who die
Mhm.
in being suffocated, behind door because they don't want to say it,
Mhm.
because of the stigma, because of we talked about with David how every mental health becomes spirituality
Mhm.
in our
Mhm.
community. So, um, what led you to start that, and what inspired you for you to say, I have to
Mhm.
create that? Is it because of certain things that you started seeing, or
It's
you just want to open up for the community for them to be a bit aware?
I think there's so many things that we're aware of, especially knowing that the suicide rate when it comes to black men, black boys, is very high. Even the suicide rate in Africa, yeah, a lot of people don't talk about it,
Yeah.
but it is, if anything, probably the highest in the world. I believe it is the highest in the world in Africa. But Africa being, if anything, like such a large continent, but it is high. It is high amongst, black men in North America. It is high amongst black men in Europe. Be it wherever there are black men, and I think there are a lot of organizations that don't focus on the community. There are a lot of organizations that, and then on top of that, it being this conversation that the community just doesn't want to have,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, okay, you know what? Let's do this event and let's keep the focus on our black men, because at the end of the day, we are suffering and nobody's doing anything about it. So we need to take it into our own hands to make sure we do it for ourselves. We need to have these conversations. We need to be able to talk about things like depression. We need to be able to talk about things like anxiety, how to deal with them, when, who to speak to, because a lot of people don't know who to speak to, where to go to. Yeah, you can go on Google and, but sometimes that's just not enough. Sometimes you also need to be amongst other black men who are dealing with these kind of things to know that it is okay to speak to somebody else about it, right? Just like, at the event, there are a lot of brothers who are there. I remember, you know what? Sorry, let me just kind of take it back.
Yeah.
George Brown was where we hosted the event, right? And they offered some things to like some things like food and stuff like that to be there. Be it coffee, some croissants, some cheeses, some milk drinks and everything like that. And one thing I said to them was, look, this is a black event. The majority of the community is lactose intolerant, so having milk products is there's no point in having
Yeah,
it there,
yeah,
right? Two, there's coffee. They're gonna have coffee and everything like that. Coffee isn't the greatest for people who are dealing with things like anxiety, right? So I asked, as opposed to having it at this event, can we not have that? Can we just have water? If anything, like something with electrolytes that's more
yeah, yeah,
replenishing, because brothers who are there to heal, right? Last thing I need is anybody who's high stress there, chugging down some coffee because maybe he was tired, maybe he was out of work. If anything, he's there to feel the energy of all the other brothers in the
yeah,
room. He
yeah,
will feel it,
yeah.
right? So
That is a very
yeah,
smart move,
yeah,
and yeah,
thank
no,
you.
no, it's really because a lot of people don't notice this kind of things, and especially when it comes to this topic, it's a huge
Mhm,
topic that
mhm,
to get into, and some of the things that I was gonna ask you earlier, I'm gonna let you continue,
mhm,
is diets, nutrition, and because
mhm,
it affects so many of our hormones,
mhm,
and the more um, people are consuming these junks
mhm,
in certain drinks,
mhm,
the more it gets worse. And I've
mhm,
seen people change a lot of their
mhm.
health just changing just simply by
Just
yeah.
changing your
So for
diet
you
is.
for you to
Mhm,
be able to pay attention to that
mhm,
and say no
mhm,
coffee, no
mhm,
cheese, and then just
mhm,
water, that
mhm,
is like a huge. And I just want you to include it in as you're
mhm,
talking. That's the
mhm,
reason I
mhm.
cut you off. Yeah.
And having those, making it like I said, you really just have to pay attention. That's what it is. Just pay attention. It's the treatment of us all isn't the same. Even like be it in the hospitals and everything like that, we're not all receiving the same treatment. you know so that's why having that event, having other therapists come to the event and offer their services is such a big deal, such a big deal. So now other brothers who are there are aware that, one, there are black therapists. Two, there are organizations that do support black men. And three, even if you're not sorry, even if you're not ready to take that step, um, at least coming to this event will give you the push start, right?
Yeah.
Now, you being there will give you the chance to step back, think about it, consider it, and then reach out, right? So, we did the breathing exercises, which most guys have probably never done before. To let know when and how to release, how to properly breathe, in high stress situations, so that you're able to continue to navigate accordingly, while you're doing everything else.
Yeah. How important is to communicate? Because one of the things that you also, I think was, I don't know if it's you or Troy who said it. Turn to your brother and say I love you, and it was
That was Troy. That
yeah.
that that
And
is a
then
Troy
I'm
thing.
like I
Yeah.
said it, and I looked at the majority of like
Mhm.
right there. So how
Mhm.
important it is to be vulnerable, like
Mhm.
to show, because I think that's one of the things that really I call it attacking us, because
Mhm.
we're so like I'm a man, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna
Mhm.
speak it, or I'm
Mhm.
not gonna
Mhm.
communicate it.
Mhm.
um, we just die inside without
Mhm.
sharing it with anybody when there's a solution beside us.
So I think for a lot of men, for a lot of just men in general, for a lot of men, it's a defense mechanism, right? Which is understandable. However, it's okay. It's about letting men know that it is okay to be vulnerable. Now, if you choose to or choose not to, at least if ever you need it to be, it's okay to be, right? So with telling with these brothers who don't know each other just yet, it gives them the chance to get to know each other, right? So even if everybody wasn't comfortable at that moment, at the end of the event, you see how many people were talking to each other,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It was just everybody.
yeah,
So
everybody.
even if at that moment they weren't able to look at each other and be like, I love you, after everything, you're gonna let each other know,
Yeah,
I at least appreciate you,
yeah,
I at least support what you're doing, I believe in what you're doing.
yeah.
If you're having an event, I want to be there.
People
Those are
seem
other ways
free,
of
like
showing.
at
Yes,
the end. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Those are other ways of showing love. You
yeah,
don't always have to say I love you.
yeah.
It just you can show love in other ways.
In action, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that no, that is great, because I saw the
Mhm.
differences be
Mhm.
at the beginning and then at the end, how people
Mhm.
are free and then communicating with everybody,
Exactly.
and then it does
Exactly.
huge. Um, see, with this limited time that we have, I'm trying to ask
No,
as
no, no.
yeah.
Understood,
So,
understood.
because I'm always just like whenever one wanna get answered, another question pops in my head. So, um, let's get back into what you wanted it to do, black man style, right? So representing blind and black people,
Mhm,
black brothers in a different. Um, when we come to like discrimination, systematic racism and
mhm,
stuff, and there's so many of them that is going around,
mhm,
and I believe, in my opinion,
mhm,
a lot of times we focus on the negative,
mhm.
and rather than
The
building the
mhm,
solution, finding the solution. And so many times when I talk about building our community, I refer to the Jewish community,
okay, okay. Mhm.
because there's a tight brotherhood
They
bond
don't let
that,
anybody
yeah,
in. Mhm,
exactly. And there was actually a guy that explains, it was on YouTube or somewhere. He was explaining even the financial circle that was going, and he
mhm,
was saying that, for example, if the guy who's in real estate,
mhm,
he hires Jewish contractor,
mhm,
who Jewish contractor, he hires Jewish electrician, and Jewish electrician,
mhm,
and all these guys,
mhm,
they hire the same accountant
mhm.
to do their tax work.
It's true. They don't. The Jewish community is one of the best examples
Yeah.
of what we need,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And be it their dentists, be it their teachers, they
Hmm.
stick to
Their own
their
school.
practices,
Yeah.
they stick to their beliefs.
Yeah.
They stick to it's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. Yeah, like you said, they're real estate agents,
Yeah.
so that's why they're always able to. That's why they're able
Acquire the
to
wealth.
exactly
Yeah.
and be progressive,
Yeah.
right? As for us, um, and I guess we can always point to them as a good example. However, we've been so displaced amongst the like around the world,
Yeah.
right? They have huge, like they will always identify as being Jewish. We have black people in America who will identify as being African American. We have black and who have been there for generations. We have black people here in Canada who have been here for generations as well, who know themselves as Canadian. We have um, black people in the Caribbean, whether they identify as being Haitian, being, Lucian, being Jamaican. We have black people, a bunch of black people in Brazil, all across the world. And you'd be surprised how many of these people are actually related,
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
through generations.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, due to the transatlantic slave trade and things like that, um, we've been displaced everywhere. So I think so much of our community is still learning and fighting to know who they are and who we are, as opposed to just being able to come together.
Yeah.
Right? We're still unfortunately so divided.
I think we need to hasten the process, because, um, for example, when I was talking to David, he said, whether doesn't matter where you came from.
Mhm.
I really like the
And
term
and
that he
he's
used.
right. He's right. It really shouldn't matter where you come from,
Yeah.
but everybody needs to get on that
Exactly.
mindset, right?
Do you think that that is because, the result of being brainwashed, and how the Western culture always wants to separate us, right? So it's like you're Canadian, you're American, you're this, you're that, and you know. But at the end of the day, in the word of David Grant, he said, "You're African diaspora. No matter, even if you were born here, grew up generation here, at the end of the day, you're African diaspora. So wherever you came from, I think if we have that kind of attitude, we can create that unity for us to come. And I believe that, um, wealth will create, influence, right? So there's the reason that you cannot touch the Jewish, and if the Jewish were a poor community, nobody cares. It's all about the money, and in the society that cares. So, when you're doing your black man style, that's one thing that was coming, and I know you're creating the network. Yeah, people are connecting each other, and then Troy is doing iron sharpen iron, those kind of stuff,
Which you
and
need to come to.
you see, you know what I told them? I said, so I have class Monday and Thursday. My class is from 8:30 to 10:30.
Okay, okay.
So I'm like, at least you should have it once in Saturday or something. But the thing is, he told me, like, you guys been staying up until like 1 a.m. or
No,
something.
we're
that.
there.
I'm
I
coming
think
on the
the
3rd.
last time I think we left at like 1:30 a.m.
I'm coming. I'm
Yeah.
coming.
You're gonna come for the next
this
one?
Friday. It's
Okay,
this
okay.
Friday, right? Coming up.
No,
The
it's
third.
it's on March 4th. It's the first Friday of
Yeah.
every
So
month.
the
Yeah, yeah.
third. So is it next?
It's next
Yeah.
Friday.
This coming
Is it
coming.
this?
Yeah. Coming up Friday. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
Yeah. It
okay,
is.
yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna be there.
Okay.
So I'm like, I told him like, even if I have to skip class, I'm gonna come or something. I'm
Uh-huh.
not gonna miss it.
Mhm.
No, because it's really important, right? Luckily, my class is hybrid,
Mhm.
online and physical.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
when it's online, I can afford it,
Mhm.
and so those kind of things. So um, my question is, when you're doing this event,
Mhm.
and what is your plan? What is your vision in order to create this kind of atmosphere
Mhm.
for people to come up with, um, just saying, um, like putting money together,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So putting money together, like let's just say like $1,000 or something,
Mhm.
and bunch of people, just the small people that are there willing, or $100 a month or something, and then you have a someone who wants to create a business, and you just lend them with interest, and then come back and then
Mhm.
benefit them back to the community, things like that,
Mhm.
creating the same system.
So the first thing is getting them to one even trust each other.
Oh yeah.
That is the first thing, right? Trust each other, be comfortable amongst each other in order to be able to have those conversations, to be able to do those things, right? I think a lot of people will talk about, yeah, let's all, put money together and do this, that, and the third, which, yes, that is exactly what needs to be done. Um, but a lot of it isn't happening because a lot of the community doesn't trust each other,
Yeah.
right? So once the community starts to see that there are groups like men from Blackmen Style
Yeah.
who've gotten together and decided to pull some money together and be it purchase a property, purchase some land.
Yeah.
When they start to see those things, like you said, wealth brings influence. Once they see those things, then they will start to get it. They will start to understand these guys are doing it. Other people who know these guys who are doing it will be able to vouch for them, and then it will continue to be progressive. It has to start somewhere. They need to be able to see it being done. So all in all, that is the overall goal. One, to network, for our men to network, to connect with each other, but then be able to do these things together, right? Of course, I've had other men from other communities who've asked, oh, can I be a part of it and everything like that, and I just let them know, like, look, understand that this is a space that we need for ourselves. There's a lot of building, a lot of fixing, a lot of
Yeah.
healing that we
Yeah.
need to do.
Yeah.
So allow us to do that,
Yeah.
right? Everybody always wants to be in our spaces. Literally, everybody always wants to be at our
Yeah.
spaces. Let us have this time for ourselves
Yeah.
so that we can do these things. We want to get to a point where we don't have to do these things because we're so well established as a community,
Yeah.
right? Where everybody's now using us as an example. Look, as opposed to using us as a negative example because that's all they've ever done, right? So,
And then we need to learn to say no too, because
no, we
the
do
same,
need to.
yeah,
We've
because
been we've said yes too many times.
yeah, because there's so many the funny thing is, that's how you know that people have the, uh, I would call it, the audacity to come and ask you, because and the same kind, nobody's gonna go to Chinese community like, can I join the community? Nobody's gonna go, like, nobody goes to
Uh-huh.
the Jewish is like, I want to be part of it. But because of that, lenience that we have, just, we're relaxed, we're not, as intense as the other communities. People tend to like come in and say like, oh, I want to be part of it.
Mhm.
And it's funny that they want to look like, they want to look like you,
Mhm.
but they don't want your struggle.
Mhm.
So I think, strictly, we need to learn to say no, this is
Mhm.
just for us,
Mhm.
and we'll now, we can't it's in the name, it says
Mhm.
black men style.
And there was a time where the community knew when to say no,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is that was in the 60s and sometimes in the 70s or in the 80s is like people started falling off in the
Yeah.
90s. Here we are in the 2000s and everyone's just like, yeah, let's all be inclusive for everything.
Yeah.
Yes, it is great to be inclusive, but we still need our own spaces. We do need our own spaces, 100%.
Great. Let me ask you this two questions. One is, what is your plan for 2023? Like, as an individual, or as a black man sat through your business, what do you want to do? And what is Sam trying to accomplish and communicate when it comes to his community?
Mhm.
So those are the two questions I want to ask you.
Um, as for Blackman Style, we have quite a list of events and opportunities that we're trying to bring about for the community. um, and not just for black men, but for black women, for black people as a whole. Um, and as man, I'm trying. It's just because I'm still mapping things out,
Yeah, yeah,
right? As to why I don't want to say anything because
yeah,
like I hate being a person who says things and doesn't make it happen,
yeah.
right?
I know that is
So,
that is well said.
um, but I want to say my short answer is just the intention, is the intention. Um, Being intentional, continue to be intentional, as we have been, and to continue to show that intention, so that people know that we're here to. I can't say we're here to save. We're not here to save
Yeah.
anybody, but we're here to make sure that we make things happen. Now, as for me, myself, and I, what I'm looking to do, what I'm planning to do, as an individual, is I'm planning to continue learning. Learning is like I'm a student of life, you know, be it from other people, be it from my experiences, be it traveling, communicating with other people. I'm talking about like even people out, of course, people out from outside of the community, right? Because um, there's a lot we can learn from other beings, as we're here. So make sure that I'm being intentional with that time. I continue to be progressive as I can be. Continue to communicate with as many people as possible, but then also just make sure that I'm there for my family, right? There for my wife. It's I think one of the hardest things has been, you know, being there for the community, being there for the people, but then also making sure that I'm there for my wife,
Prioritizing
right?
it.
Because without my wife, all of this doesn't happen, right? All of it doesn't happen. She has really been the person who has put the battery in my back to make sure I do the necessary things that I have to do, right? So, yeah,
For her.
yes.
Um, and so, um, what do you have things to say? Because I like when people leave a message.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you want people to take from here, or what what message do you want to pass in for your brothers, for the community?
Mm-hmm.
Um, things that we have to do, things that we can be or we have to be, in order to achieve the things that we should achieve. So,
Keep loving black women, keep supporting black women, um, keep being there for black women, defend black women. All in all, be the black man for the black women in your lives.
awesome,
That's all.
awesome. Do you read the book?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So what is I always ask people what book
Mm-hmm.
they either changed their life
Mm-hmm.
or that inspired them, or currently that you
Mm.
it's your favorite book. So what book do you have in your mind?
One book it that I read this book in high school, but I always like it. It's one book that always comes to mind, even though it's not based on anything like true events or anything like that. Midnight by Sister Souljah.
Midnight
Um,
by Sister Soldier.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're
I,
gonna we always try to put the link
uh-huh.
in the description for people if they wanna get it. So
Okay, okay, okay.
So Midnight by Sister
By
Soldier.
Sister Soldier. Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I mean, it was. I think it was a book that helped mold my mind at a young age.
Yeah.
As for just really making things happen, just making things happen, even when even when you don't have everything that you do. Yeah, Midnight by Sister Soldier. It's a good book.
That's
I want to say it's a good book for the younger
yeah,
generation.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's not something that I can say. You as a grown adult should
But if
should
if
really.
it
But
shaped you, like,
yeah,
it's good.
it
Yeah.
really did help shape
Yeah.
me. It really did help
Because
shape me.
people learn in a different time, in a different pace,
Mm-hmm.
so it's things that you learn when you're younger,
Mm-hmm.
some of us might need it now, so it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
always relevant. So we have a culture in this podcast before we end it. I got the inspiration from other place, and what it is that the previous guest
Mm-hmm.
will write an encouragement word to the next guest.
Okay.
So the kick is that the guests will not know, they don't know each other. Obviously,
But
unless
I know your next guest.
yeah.
Very well.
So unless you saw the the previous video, you will not know who wrote it for you,
Okay.
right? And then the same time you write it inside.
Okay.
And then the other annoying part for me is that I cannot see it until now.
Oh, okay, okay.
So once the person writes it, my finger itches, but I can't look at it
Gotcha,
until I read
gotcha.
it to you. So the previous guest wrote encouragement word to the next guest, which is you, and I'm gonna read. Wow. Okay, it says, fall in love with you, treat others how you want to be treated, be the change you want to see.
That's crazy. It sounds like something I would have written. It
Uh,
really
it, it,
does.
it probably might be because of the person who wrote it, and you always
I
rub
communicate with
shoulder.
I communicate with him too much. So yeah.
Maybe that's the reason. And again, thank you so much for coming
no
in.
problem. Thank you for having
and
me.
I'm hoping that you will come back.
Oh, 100%.
Because there are we have plans ahead what we wanted to do, like for fatherhood, and then creating panel discussion among all the guests that came in and stuff, which most of them so and hopefully you will come. And then I'm also thinking that I'm also hoping that you will come with your wife.
My wife?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You'll be lucky if
Yeah,
you get her
yeah,
on here.
definitely. Oh,
She
that's-
really likes to. She really likes to. To play from behind the scenes.
Like, so
Right,
I have my ways. I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna like, go from every direction
okay,
until
okay.
I get yes. And
Okay,
so
okay.
thank you again. I
Nah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem at all. No problem. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right.
Understanding unity together, I want to lift up our community. Versatile like a crown, yeah, we limitless.